Hello everyone, Kim here at Olive City Homestead. We're in the middle of a heat wave. It's 113 today where we live. Yesterday was even hotter, but yesterday was the day I chose to take a road trip. And I chose to take you guys with me. I went to a botanical garden and arboretum about an hour north of here, and I had so much fun despite the heat. Now, the McConnell Botanical Garden and Arboretum is actually connected to Turtle Bay Exploration Park, which is a really crazy fun place, but it includes way too much for me to go into right now. One of the things it has is a really cool museum that focuses on natural history and geology and art and science and cool stuff. And it has a museum store, and I love museum stores. So before I head out into my hike through this really massive botanical garden and arboretum, I went into the museum store to get some iced lemonade. And you know, when you get iced lemonade in a museum store, you have to look around and shop a bit, right? So that's what I did. So there's a couple minutes of shopping, set to music at the beginning of this video. And funny, but while I was shopping, I would spy things on the shelves that reminded me of some of my fellow YouTubers, people whose channels I follow and really like. So I gave them a little shout out, and some of you might like to go follow them too, because I think you'll enjoy them as much as I do. Then it was off across the Sundial Bridge, which is a major attraction in and of itself. It's an awesome bridge. It's spectacular at night when it's all lit up, but beautiful during the day too. Even more beautiful though is the Sacramento River that flows under the bridge. And I did stop for a few moments to take in that really relaxing, meditative, gorgeous view. Now, as I mentioned, it was super hot yesterday, and sadly, this affected my camera. It kept turning off. But what I didn't notice was that right before it would turn off, it would get this really shaky footage thing going on. And so later during editing, I took as much of that out as I could, but you will see several segments where there's shakiness, where it looks like I'm completely drunk, and I'm not, I promise. It's just the heat affecting my camera. Sorry about that. Due to the heat and the camera issues, I really only covered about a third of the garden, so I'm going back once in the fall to do another third, and again in the spring when the flowers are blooming to do the last third. So I'm really looking forward to that. And at the end of the video, after I go wading in the Sacramento River, after I say goodbye, as I walked back over the Sundial Bridge, I spotted three guys having a blast out on their jet skis, and it looked like so much fun I just had to include it. Plus, it reminded me of another channel I follow. You know who you are, and I put his information on there because if you enjoy the sound of the ocean and gorgeous sunrises over the ocean and some fun and adventure, because you know you're only as old as you act, then you'll want to check into his channel. But for now, come with me. I think you're going to find this trip as exciting and fun, as enjoyable and as relaxing as I did. So here's what I ended up getting. I really did like this bag. Be kind on one side, but what I am especially fond of is this side. Those flowers, that pattern, so pretty. I love the colors. And of course I had to get a lemonade. This is a raspberry hibiscus lemonade, and I'm gonna need it where we're going. And because I've got this cold, I know that I also need something to suck on. This is a seed-bearing lollipop, blood orange and elderflower. It's gluten-free and dairy-free, nut-free, soy-free, and pretty much everything free except the good stuff. So I'm hoping that the citrus element and the medicinal herb element of the elderflower is gonna help me with my sore throat and my runny nose. Almost makes me want to go back to wearing a mask, even though I've been fully vaccinated. The first week I didn't wear a mask and I caught a little cold. Anyway, we are going to go right across the Sacramento River on the Sundial Bridge, which you can see right there. It's a little more impressive from the side. Right now we're looking head on at it. It has a glass base, and we will walk over that to our final destination, which is a very beautiful and interesting natural garden area. That's what I call a peaceful, relaxing view. It's so hot today that no one else is on the bridge. Very, very unusual. It's usually packed with tourists, but I am absolutely the only one on the bridge right now. It's about 4 p.m. and it's 116 degrees. Yep, 116. The hottest day of the year so far. In fact, in my car driving over here, the temperature was set 121 when I got in. I tried to take a picture of that, missed the 121, but I got 120. Yeah, have to get that air conditioning definitely going here in the summer. But you know, it doesn't feel like 116. As I'm sure you've heard, Northern California has a dry heat, which, having lived in some humid areas like South Carolina and Hong Kong, I know there is a big difference, and I do appreciate the dryness. But even still, it doesn't feel like 116. I think because I'm on the water, it feels like about 105. Yeah. Which is totally doable. And now I'm looking the other way. Downstream, it is a lot calmer here. The Sacramento is a big river, but in spots it gets pretty narrow and doesn't look as mighty as it really is. Over on the west shore, there's a bunch of ducks I can see. Let's head over there. Another shot to the south. It's really the southwest. Maybe even more west than south. Yeah. Otherwise we wouldn't see those mountains over there. And continuing on, we're coming to the end, and there's the big sundial installation. I remember when this wasn't here years ago. There's a nice little outdoor staging area down there where musicians can play, perhaps when it's not so hot. And here are the points on the sundial where the shadows are cast throughout the day. This is 1 p.m. at the summer solstice, June 21st. Turning around, we see the bridge from the other side, or we don't really see the bridge, but we see the sundial really, really, really tall in the sky. I don't know if you could see that with the brightness of the sun. Talk about a lot of rosemary. This looks like my rosemary plant. Maybe in a few years, if I let it continue, it would grow into this field. It smells good. This is the Mediterranean garden. And it wouldn't be a Mediterranean garden without grapes, would it? This grapevine looks a bit dry, doesn't it? But yet, the grapes look pretty darn good. Kind of small, but none of them are shriveled. They look sweet. Well, this looks like a forest I'm entering. Very, very pretty. Makes me feel like I'm hiking in the mountains rather than being just outside a pretty big city. Oh, it's at least 20 or more degrees cooler in here. A lot of evergreens. When I came here about a decade ago, when the gardens were new, they had a lot of native plants, and they have very specific areas like an African garden and a Mediterranean garden and many others. The things were labeled really well, like for instance right here there is a tree called winter bark, and the scientific name is Drymus winteri. It has very interesting red bark. Yeah, but all the plants had those, and I don't know if they're just overgrown and I can't find them, but that's the first label I've seen so far. So we'll just go about and see what we see. It does look super dry though. Well, these cacti seem to be faring fine. They don't mind this heat, intense as it is, and I must say they're in some shade here though, so that helps. All of these grasses are also doing well. Maybe they don't even call it a grass when it gets that big. Again, there's probably a label down there somewhere, but these things are so big now that I can't find them. It does make me want to grow more grasses though. Ooh, I like this tree. Look at these leaves. This reminds me of my fig trees, both in the shape of the leaves somewhat and the sideways growth of the branches. I wonder what kind of tree this actually is, and will we find out? Nope, I can't find a label anywhere, but for those of you who might know, it does have these seed pods. And right there you can see the seeds right through that one. What kind of tree is this? Anyone know? And that is bamboo. I hear water, do you? Look at this magnificent tree. A weeping style. Very tall, providing a lot of shade and beauty to this area. Wish I knew the name of it. I see flashes of orange down in there because there are some goldfish in there, good sized ones. Oh, there's some more over there hiding. I don't know if you can see them from this distance. The water is coming down this chute, this man-made waterfall from this fountain. It looks like cotton fluff, but golden. That's really pretty. Sitting here, I have this place completely to myself. You might hear the sound of a helicopter in the background. That would be a fire helicopter. They're pretty constant right about now, given the heat and the drought conditions we have and the danger of wildfire in Northern California. All very extreme. But it's sort of a comforting sound in a way. And there is no other sound back here. Because it's so hot, no one is here. This tourist attraction, which I'm able to show you very little of because my camera keeps turning off because of the heat, it's empty except for the birds and the wildlife. So I can sit on benches in the shade and just enjoy the trees and plants all around me. They leave it to natural watering, I think, entirely? Don't quote me on that. There might be a few areas they supplement, but mostly it's a natural garden. And that's why a lot of it is dried out right now, because it's not supposed to be quite this hot and dry. And yet, nature persists. So in this area we have the Medicinal Garden, which includes feverfew, or Chrysanthemum parthenium, and drugs were derived from this plant that are effective against migraines. Then we have the Maidenhair Tree, more commonly known perhaps as the Ginkgo biloba, and its natural health benefits are used to treat circulatory disorders and enhance memory. Yerba Santa, in our local tribe's Wintu tradition, this plant is used to treat lung ailments. And then there's Yerba Mansa, which takes the root for many therapeutic properties. It's antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antifungal. And then one we're probably all familiar with, Echinacea purpurea. Of course, this is widely used to fight colds and other respiratory infections, and I could use some of this right now. The Echinacea here looks pretty tired, but you know what? That's okay, because you take the blossoms and dry them and crush them anyway in one of the uses, and you can also take the leaves and make a tea with them, but dried is good. So this is just natural drying. You don't have to put them in your dehydrator. So if you've watched some of my other videos in the past, you may recognize this tiny little tree. It's about 2.5 feet tall. It's got growth at the bottom there, growth at the top, and it's trying to grow taller, and it will, because see those trees back there with those very fascinating looking trunks? They're all about 20-25 feet tall, and if left to grow, will grow even to be 30 feet tall. And they're the same tree as this. Anybody got a guess what that is? I'll give you a clue. So look right there. What do you see? You know what those fruit are? Yes, they're still green. They won't ripen until January probably. Maybe December, depends. With the heat we're getting, yeah, maybe December. Anybody know what these trees are? All right, I'll tell you. Come here. It's the strawberry tree, the Arbutus unido, the very one I grow. Yes, the strawberry tree. So some of my followers have been asking me some questions about this tree. Some have asked me, is it just a bush? Yours looks kind of short. And no, it is a tree and does grow 30 feet tall if you let it. Most varieties, 10 to 30 feet tall. I plan to keep mine though about 6 or 7 feet tall, but currently my 2 strawberry trees are about 4 feet and 4.5 feet tall. Some people have also asked about the fact that a lot of the leaves are yellow or browning and dying and falling off. Well, that's fine. See this yellow leaf here and these brown leaves here? That's normal part of the growth process. You can just brush those off and your plant will look as good as new. They don't have anyone doing that here, but you just run your hand down it and they fall right off. And look, we have new green growth, tender young shoots coming out the top. It's just, the strawberry tree is always growing. The cycle is unending, and that's why you have blossoms on the tree the same time you have ripening fruit. And some have asked me about the little growths coming out of the end of the branches, and they've said, is that going to be blossoms? Yes, in fact it will be. And they start off looking just kind of a lime green, and then you'll notice a dark pink coming into them. The ones I have at home have that pink already in them. And then in the fall they're going to turn into those beautiful bell blossoms. And yeah, then you've got fruit on your tree that ripens all over the next year. And so it's just this ongoing cycle. Now, what you do as far as pruning goes on these trees is completely up to you. You can let them grow like bushes, or you can do what they've done here and trim the branches off the lower level. So they've got these trimmed to about the 4 or 5 foot level. And you can see these are multi-branch trunks. Very interesting. And these have the rough, scaly, peeling bark that is so unique. Underneath that is some nice reddish bark that you'll see more times of the year than others. And it's just a super interesting tree. And I love mine, although I won't let them get this massive. I can appreciate this. And you know, it's kind of giving me an idea. I might find an area on my property to plant, I don't know, 12 or 15 it looks like here, in a little grove and prune them up the way they've done. I won't let them get this tall because I want to be able to reach some of that fruit. I will, you know, leave the top level for the birds, but I want to be able to reach the low-hanging stuff. So I'll probably let them get about 15 or 20 feet tall, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. This is just an idea in my head, and these things do grow slowly. But I like this effect, don't you? You could have a little table or two under here, enjoy picnics, work outside. Yeah, I can see why they were popular trees in the Mediterranean. And if you watch my other video, you know you can do a lot with strawberry tree fruit. Some people call them bland, but that just depends. If you take them at the right level of ripeness, they are not bland. They do have somewhat of a mealy texture to them, but that's not a bad thing. It's just different than what we're used to in a lot of fruits. But it's actually a very interesting flavor, kind of like a combination of a nectarine and a guava in my opinion, and I like them when they're fully ripe. If you take them before they're ripe and mushy, then they tend to be kind of bland, yeah. But they make wonderful additions, though, to any smoothie. Whether they're sweet or not, they just really add a lot of health benefits, of course. These are loaded with that. But also, the texture of them makes smoothies work really well. So I'm really happy to see these here. Ooh, look what else I found in the Mediterranean garden. This is a plant that was in the book Grow Something Different to Eat that I did in a recent book recommendation video. It's the Oregon grape. I have wanted to get one of these, and now that I see it, I'm actually even more set on getting one because I like it. It looks kind of like, I don't know, like holly, like very Christmassy. And look at the size of those. That's like blueberry, a small blueberry size. It's loaded. I'm going to try one. That is interesting. It is not sweet. It's definitely tart. It's like a really tart grape, I'd say, which I personally like. I could see that making a lot of interesting jams with the addition of sugar or with the addition of a different fruit to go along with it. Oh, I really like that. There it is in the sun. It's just loaded with those. So interesting. I'm surprised that the birds haven't eaten them. I guess they don't think they're sweet enough. I didn't mention they have a little seed in them, but it's just little. Very easy to spit out. A lot of people probably wouldn't even mind eating it, but yeah, that's interesting. It's always nice to have a berry that birds don't attack. Well, this one is a little scrawny, but I recognize this right away. It's a lemon verbena. So is this, all these along here, and they smell wonderful. I had a follower, a friend from Instagram and here on YouTube, Barberry from Barberina's Adventures over in Africa. She asked me if the limes smelled the same as the lemons, and I was thinking she meant my lime tree, my lemon tree, but I think she actually meant my lemon verbena, because in a recent video I mentioned how wonderful these leaves smell. Even if you just rub your fingers through them, oh my gosh, it smells so delicious. My lemon tree and lime tree leaves don't smell at all. But lemon verbena, wonderful tea. And really just wonderful to have in your garden. They actually get a lot fuller than this if you give them just a little bit more water than they're probably getting, which is probably none here. This tree is everywhere. I'm sort of obsessed now with figuring out what it is. Here is a little chaste tree, so I'm guessing that these might be chaste berries. No, they must be the seeds of this plant. I know what that is. That is an olive tree. It's split into, looks like 4 or 5 trunk parts, but the base is pretty big. I guess that's about 60 or 80 years old. They brought that in from somewhere. Oh, it's not as big as I thought. Maybe only 50. I don't know. Looking at the size of these branches, I'm gonna revise my estimate to be maybe 40 years. But realize I'm totally guessing. I'm comparing it to my 100, 120-year-old trees. And interestingly, this one has no fruit. There's no sign of olives on it. Olives are generally biennial, but that just means they bear more lightly in one year than the next. There still should definitely be olives on this tree if it was bearing any, and I don't see a one. Interesting. Ooh, more pretty grasses. I must say, I am developing more of an appreciation. If I could grow them instead of Bermuda grass, that would be nice. And a common sight around these parts, and a beautiful one, a red leaf Japanese barberry. I think I might need to get me one of these. It's very similar in appearance to loropetalum, but I don't believe it has the blossoms, or at least certainly not the kind of blossoms my loropetalum does. I'll have to research that too, but I love the color of those leaves in the shade as well as in the sun. All right, I'm guessing that this little area with all of these hydrangea and this other plant that is so interesting to me, somebody out there who grows a lot of flowers will be able to tell me what this is. It looks like a lot of my allium bulbs do. It also looks like one new plant I bought recently, a spider flower. Not a spider plant, but a spider flower. But it's too big to be a bulb, and it's too big, I think, to be a spider flower, so I'm not sure what it is. Flowers are new to me, but these hydrangea are pretty, if a little past their prime. Definitely think they're getting some sort of water, although they are in the shade and they are right next to the river. It's right behind them. So, I don't know, maybe not. These flowers are a backdrop for a meadow, which faces the pathways to the other gardens. I am going to find out what that flower is, though, because I love how tall it is, and I really love how it looks before it blooms, too. Even though it's crawling with ants, but hey, they're not hurting anything. And here's an Acer, a big leaf maple. I love maple trees. I wonder if this one turns the amazing fall colors of the ones I'm familiar with. This is an Acer Macrophylum. Yes, that makes sense, big leaf. It does have big leaves. So this interesting plant with the huge leaves is a Lenten rose, a Helleborus orientalis. Too bad it's not blooming. I'm gonna have to look that up and see what its blooms are like. Well, this is a loaded pear tree, but the poor thing, it's awfully tall and scraggly. Somebody needs to get in here and prune this tree way down, like half the size. Bring it down to 10 feet or maybe even 8 feet and give it a little extra water. But it is loaded with fruit. Look at that. Yeah. I think I have a pear tree like this. I have 4 or 5 pear trees. And one of mine looks like this in the sense of the pears look like this. It is not this tall and scraggly because I keep mine short. I love Rudbeckia. This year is the first year I've managed to grow it well. The heat really does a number on it if you get it wet. But this is doing really well in this area, isn't it? Of course, there are huge oaks everywhere here, and I haven't been showing them because this is like such a common tree in this area. We have them absolutely everywhere. Thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And quite impressive. So this is the central chili area of the garden, and one of the plants there that is becoming extinct because it's being pushed out by agriculture and ranching is what's called the monkey puzzle tree. It was brought to England in 1795, and it was observed that this would be a puzzle for a monkey to climb. And so people fell in love with it and have been growing it all over the world since then. Which is good because, again, it's actually in danger of extinction in Chile. It's a very interesting looking tree, isn't it? Here's another one. They have several growing here. Let's see what it looks like up close. Okay, so this one's trunk is split there at the bottom, and its leaves, oh, yes, they're pokey, just like I thought they'd be. They're very much like a cactus. Not with spines, but the leaves themselves are very sharp on the edges. Yeah, I don't think a monkey would like to touch it, unless the pads on their hands are a lot tougher than our hands. Well, I'm not really a cactus or succulent type person, but I will say that this tree is striking, isn't it? All right, I'm headed out. Oh my goodness, the cool breeze coming off this river is so nice, so refreshing. It's so much cooler down here than up in the gardens. And you know what? You can bet I'm gonna put my feet in that water. Oh yeah. Not going swimming because I'm totally not dressed for the part, and also have my purse and my camera with me, but definitely going wading. That's like ice water. That's fantastic. Oh, that feels so good. That's taking my temperature way down, plus that breeze coming in. I wish you guys could feel it. It's awesome. My feet are freezing, but that's okay. I don't know if you can see the duck swimming out there straight ahead. I can't zoom in on this camera, but I think you can see it. It's sort of swimming in little circles right in front of me. I think it's eating something. Bye, duck. You're just floating along with the current, aren't you? My ducks would probably love to join you on this river, but no, they have to stay at home and swim in their little pool. I'm sitting on a rock, and the water is lapping up and sort of hitting underneath my legs, which is kind of nice. It has been so rejuvenating, so refreshing to get out here Just what I needed. Nature always comes through and makes me feel more energized and relaxed than ever. Thanks for joining me today, and don't forget, you can create the life you want, so don't let anyone tell you otherwise. See you next time. Hey Martin, have you ever tried one of these? You're doing all kinds of tricks out there. Can you do those tricks on your surfboard? That does look like fun. Till you fall off.